It's Coffee Talk on FM 94.7 and AM 1450 KBKW, and it's time now for the Insider Report with Everett Hughes. And I guess last week you were with Boss Bill. How did that go?
I was. It went well. We got more calls when we were off the air to answer than we did while we were on the air, but the content was pretty good, and we just talked about a lot of stuff.
Okay, so
and he always seems to enjoy those live Insider Reports.
No, he has a good time. He won't admit it, but he likes it. Well, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, it's kind of not difficult, but it's a little hard to explain maybe. Now, we've talked before about how if the taxpayer doesn't file the return, the IRS will take that information and they will prepare the return for the taxpayer and then send them the bill.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that. Well, I have a case like that where the fellow hasn't filed since 2001.
Oh.
And so they prepared 2001 through 2006, I believe it is. And then they've already prepared them. They've already sent him out the balance due notices. But there's some unfiled returns that are more recent than 2006. So they said, well, now, and they gave him a date. You get all these. And they sent him all the information so he could file them. And then the taxpayer asked them, well, how about these other ones? And here's what the IRS told him. Oh, don't worry about those. We have already filed them. We just want you to file the ones that have not been filed. Okay?
Yeah, they're being kind of nice, aren't they?
Well, it sounds like they're being nice.
Uh-huh.
Until you realize that in all of those 6 years, he had self-employment income that is reported on a 1099. It has self-employment tax attached to it, and there is no expenses taken out of any of that self-employment income. In other words, the IRS, when they prepare the tax return, they report whatever is on that 1099. Now, distinguish between the 1099 and the W-2. The W-2 is what your employer gives you and all of that. The 1099 is what you receive from somebody if you're a subcontractor. Well, you have expenses because you're self-employed.
Sure.
But the IRS does not take that into consideration when they do their substitute for return. They take that 1099 and they treat it as if it was net profit.
But, of course, none of this would have happened if he would have filed his taxes.
Doug, you're absolutely correct.
So he's kind of at fault for this.
Well, he is at fault for the fact that they did SFRs. You're right. But now that he's at fault because he didn't file the tax return, for the IRS to tell him, oh, no, you don't need to refile those.
What?
We have already done it for you.
Those evil people.
Which means he will pay 3 times the tax more than likely than if he files it himself.
So they're pulling the wool over his eyes.
Well, they don't mean to. All they know is collections has the case. Exam did the substitute for returns. And collections and exam don't necessarily hang out together.
Oh, I see. Okay, so in saying, well, we did it for you already, they might not know they did it wrong, or they did it in such a way that he didn't get as much money as he should have.
Well,
or
collections doesn't care.
Or he paid more than he should.
Collections is only concentrating on one thing. What is the balance due? Collections is not all that concerned about how we arrived at that balance due. All they know is they're trying to resolve the balance due, and so send us this amount of money. But what I want listener land to understand is if it's a substitute for return, refile that period yourself.
Anyway.
Absolutely.
Well, we are out of time, but if you want more information, give him a call, Everett a call, 533-4131, or go to the website.
And you can listen to them all, everetthughes.com.